to hear, Carly.
Yes. Well, today we're so fortunate to have Carly Zamani with us. She's a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, and successful business owner. This woman will inspire you all. And if you think you're not or will not own a business and you think this may not apply to you, you're wrong. Because having a business mindset is so necessary for you to have, no matter what your career. You could own a business and use your education and skills and do whatever you imagine you can do. And Carly is here to inspire us. But just a little bit more about Carly. Besides being an agent, selling properties and negotiating deals, she is all about changing lives and having a closed, vast array of transactions in the real estate industry, both large and small, from commercial leases to luxury properties. Carly provides expert advice, guidance, and consultation across a wide spectrum of real estate. And as a licensed loan officer, she also offers a unique financial insight, creating a seamless and professional and well-researched experience for each of her clients. She has an extensive and successful background in hospitality and restaurant branding and development. Carly provides top-tier services, placing her clients' intentions and needs at the forefront of her actions. And she's raised as one of 9 children and now a wife and a mother of 2. Carly understands the profound and positive effects selling has and purchasing a home can have on the future of a family. And as an agent, Carly lives for a moment when her client closes a deal and on their ideal home and their investment, and she provides exemplary and beneficial results to each of her clients and prides herself on her work ethic and loyalty and integrity and crystalline joy. They don't call her Sparkle Plenty for nothing. I want to hear about that one. Outside of real estate and loan industries, Carly enjoys Formula One racing, hot yoga, and collecting high heels. She buys a new pair every time she closes a deal. Needless to say, she's always looking for more closet space. And with a deep focus on creating an unforgettable and ideal real estate experience, Carly aims to build lasting relationships with her clients, expanding their vision and enabling a better and brighter future. Welcome, Carly. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Stuart. I appreciate that introduction. My goodness. Let me get started on just kind of giving you the background of how difficult of a path I've had to get to the point that I'm at now. For 21 years, I managed fine dining restaurants, partnered with hotels, worked for legendary restaurateurs, lived the American standard corporate culture, a corporate business person that's succeeding with a 6-figure salary. I regularly outpaced my competitors. I constantly grew sales in markets where it seemed possible to yield those results. At one point in my career, I was so determined to prove that I could be there because I was a woman surrounded by mostly men. The restaurant industry is male dominated. I've also learned the mortgage industry is male dominated. I've also learned that the real estate industry tends to be very male dominated. Take a guess what else is very male dominated? Our government, all different, huge successful corporations tend to have men at the forefront of them. And so it has been very familiar to me to pull up a chair at a corporate table and be the only female in the room. And, at one point in my career, running one of the most legendary restaurants I got a chance to oversee. Has anybody heard of Las Brisas in Laguna Beach?
Yes, definitely.
Opened in 1979 on the cliff. It used to be Victor Hugo's Steakhouse. I took the place of the general manager that was there since the day they opened the doors in 79. And I was the first female manager in their entire restaurant, but in their entire corporation. Las Brisas was owned and is owned by a umbrella corporation called Real Mex Restaurants. They have El Torito, Acapulco, Chevy's, all those different casual dining concepts. Las Brisas was their only fine dining restaurant. And I took over. We did about $1.2 to $1.5 million per month in sales. It was the first time in my hospitality career that I worked a 3-meal period a day restaurant. I had 178 employees and 16 managers that reported to me. I was their corporate sales representative on television, on radio shows, all throughout the city of Laguna Beach. I was given carte blanche by the new board of directors that they brought in to completely revamp and rechange Las Brisas. So I worked with architects, I worked with all different chefs. I put in a hierarchy of a chef de cuisine. I had to let go of the chef that had been there for 30 years. It was a very, very difficult role. But one thing I started learning about all the success I had attained in restaurants and the six-figure salary that I was making. I come from a real big family. Stuart mentioned that. I'm one of 9 children. Along with that, my siblings have all married and had many children. I have, I think, 27 grandchildren between my parents, nieces and nephews that, are only continuing to grow. And then my 2 sons as well, who were pretty much raised, unfortunately, by nannies, and usually 2 at a time, because I worked 14-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week on the regular, and I missed everything. I never had Friday nights off. I didn't ever have Mother's Day off. I didn't have 4th of July weekend off like we all just had. I didn't have a chance to be involved in their lives. And, when I took a step back and said, what really matters in life? Here I go, inching towards making a little more money with every job that I get. And, continuing to open restaurants and being this success in my head, it truly came at the expense and the sacrifice of my own family and missing out on many events and, football games and soccer games and different things that you can't trade. Father Time is mean. He doesn't give up. So, what happened for me was I didn't see the next chapter of my life that came. I met a gentleman who now became my husband, and he said, I've been in mortgage for 15 years, Carly. I've never met somebody with the drive, with the energy, with the work ethic, and the Rolodex that you have. I had at one point in my career managed 5 restaurants throughout the Las Vegas Valley, and I did it during the recession when all the restaurants were closing down and the housing market was tanking. I was running restaurants and opening restaurants, 1 a year, 3 years in a row. And my owner of the company at the time couldn't figure out what the heck I was doing to grow sales when everybody else was closing the doors. And a big part of it was the business connections and the confidence that I learned to create in the staff who would carry out our message, which was hospitality. And so I meet this guy, Max, and he says, you got to quit restaurants. And I said, here we go again. Somebody else going to tell me that I should quit restaurants and quit what I love doing. And, I felt like I had mastered my career in restaurants. And he didn't have to get me to quit. I actually lost my job. And so at age 35, after 21 years running restaurants and being as successful as I thought I was at the top of the food chain, so to speak, I found myself without a job and 35 years old, 2 children, difficulty in life and relationships because work always came before them. And so I was not married. I was a single mom, and what do I do? And so I at first took a week off and then re-geared my mind and said, I've never really tried to be a success at anything other than restaurants. And while anybody would say that if you get a chance to make $110,000 a year as your base salary, and I was included on the business licenses, I had profit sharing, I made quarterly bonuses, I was well compensated, I did pretty well for myself. So I thought, how am I going to completely give all that up? That's all I know. I don't have anything else. It was really by the urging of my now husband to say, hey, you got to do this. And he still loves to take credit for putting me here, and that's okay, he can. So I bragged all the time like a stupid record at first when I became an agent that I was so good at running restaurants, and hospitality was in my blood, and I wanted so badly to do anything to just keep climbing and climbing. And everybody said to me, well, be careful. You've never worked in a commission only environment. This is going to be tough for you. You've counted on a paycheck. You were salaried. So this is going to be different. Can you imagine the day that I took 6 commission checks in one day to the ATM to deposit $113,000 into my checking account. I actually still keep that receipt in my wallet because it will always remind me not to ever forget where I came from and the decision that I made to go into giving up what I love to do. I didn't leave restaurants because I didn't love what I was doing or because I was burnt out. I gave it up to really truly take the risk, work for myself, and go into something different to see and challenge myself if I could actually do it. So I'm going to tell you how I did it, and then see if anybody has questions. And so I'll start with saying this. Since I was a kid, I always had an inner belief that I was meant for like something super special. Stuart mentioned Sparkle Plenty. My grandmother, my mom's mom, uh, nicknamed me as a little kid Sparkle Plenty. Out of all of the kids in our family, I used to just walk in and seem to light up the room. Hello, and how are you? And so much energy. And can you imagine in restaurants, every time I walked up to a table and said, hi, how are you today? And how's your day? Where would you have dined if you weren't dining here? And people would literally stop and go, why are you so happy? And I go, because it's such a great day and it's a beautiful restaurant. And so I have a bit of a sparkle factor that when I get excited and passionate and I walk into a room, and especially a networking event, if you just smile and figure out that everyone else that's there too, everyone else on this call is just as nervous as you, they're just as sort of flying by the seat of their pants, so to speak, is a term I actually hate, but a lot of people use. Most people don't know what they're doing either. They're just trying to make it too. So I always had this inner belief that I belonged there. I wined and dined people that would spend $1,800 on a bottle of wine. And I'd present it to them, and I'd throw these fancy anniversary dinners or birthday parties, or, I can't count the number of proposals I was personally involved in where we, stuck the ring in someone's champagne or hid it in the dessert. So I was involved in big moments in life, but then I thought, wow, if I'm going to go into real estate and I'm going to help somebody with probably the biggest transaction of their life, imagine how much more I can affect people and inspire people and give people that level of feeling important that most people want. So the next thing I had to do is take advice that I didn't really want to take. My husband had been the one to encourage me to become a real estate agent. And man, let me tell you, nobody cares at first. Nobody cares. I stepped back. On one hand, I had an offer in hand to open the restaurant Habana at the Irvine Spectrum. Those of you on the call, or those of you that watch this video that live in Orange County, if you've been to the Irvine Spectrum, then you've heard of the fancy restaurant Habana. I met those owners and was offered the operating partner position to open that restaurant because I had opened successfully Paul Martin's. Martin is Paul Fleming's middle name, and had taken that restaurant to a huge success before I was recruited over to Las Brisas and took them to their record-breaking year. So I had in one hand an offer from Habana that I could sign and I could start all over. Again, a six-figure salary. I would be a partner in the restaurant. I would be the head of their staff. I would hire in the entire opening team. And on the other hand, I was waiting for my real estate exam, and I had just finished online stupid school in my head, right? Boring. Like all I'd heard about was the barrier to entry in real estate is so low, anybody gets their license. So I'm going, great. I'm going from an executive position where I pull up to my restaurant and the valets take my car away, and I walk in and everybody is very respectful because I am the executive general manager or managing partner, to now I'm a real estate agent, just like everybody else, all the hundreds that get licensed. So I went from the very top to the very bottom, and that was okay. I knew that if I tried, I'd have limitless potential. Now I can actually create my own brand instead of working for somebody else and making them a success. I had opportunities finally to show the world how good of a business model I can actually create, how incredibly smart of a businesswoman I am, who cares that I'm a woman? I deserve to be here because of the level of intellect, analytics, the number of times that I have learned managing people and leading a room of people. I loved working with restaurant servers and bartenders because they were at such an integral stage in their life. I have now employees that have become attorneys, that have become dentists, that have become doctors. I have people now that I'm constantly asked to give letters of recommendation for. And the last one, I'll give a little side success story, was one of my most favorite chefs that I've ever had the fortunate opportunity to work for, because I'm that kind of a leader. When you're in charge of the staff, you work for them, they don't work for you. And he called me a couple months back and said, Carly, I'm so excited. I'm about to interview for the biggest position in my career. I'm going to be the executive chef if I get this job for a hotel corporation. I said, Chef, you got this. Have them call me. I will give them a letter of recommendation for you, but hold on. What are you being paid? And he shared his salary. And I said, where do you live? And he goes, I'm still renting. And I said, nope, not for much longer. Not on my watch, sir. We just closed escrow on that man's house 2 weeks ago. He and his family cried their face off when I called to tell them that our offer was accepted on the home that they now live in. He, his wife, his daughter, their family, the grandparents, they all live now under one roof. I had to write a personal letter for the first time in my real estate career to really appeal to the sellers, because at the time, 18 offers were made on every property. He was an FHA buyer because they didn't have a lot of money to put down. It was going to be a difficult loan for us to complete, but he called me the night before I met to give them the keys and could barely speak. And I don't get choked up very often, but when a gentleman who has worked 2 jobs a day 35 years finally gets a chance to tell his wife and his kids and his family, I now own a home. The pride that I heard through the phone and through his tears and welcoming them into their first house, which they will probably live in for the rest of their life, was the reward that I now thrive on, that crystalline joy that you referenced, Stuart, that those are the moments now that fuel my fire, because real estate's hard. It's not easy. Every transaction is different from the next. On social media, I must look like this glammy, glitzy, super fun, easy, even somewhat of a local celebrity in a sense. And couldn't be more far from the truth. I have been in several magazines. I've had opportunities to be interviewed. I've won a whole lot of awards for my production. And I'll tell you about my first year in real estate to bring not just this conversation, but myself also right back down to earth. My first year as an agent was hard, like really hard. It was exactly like everybody said it was going to be. You're not going to make any money. Good luck if you do any deals. Usually it takes 12 to 24 months, and they weren't wrong. Although I did make about 100 grand my first year, and that consisted of 34 deals. I did 17 leases. Some of them I made $100. Some of them I made $0. I didn't care. I was so used to working 14 hours a day as hard as I could in restaurants that I was almost bored and uncomfortable. Like, what do I do? What are you supposed to do? That's where the networking piece came in. Everywhere I went, everything I did. And my son, who's on this call, and my other son, who's not on this call, but he's listening in the other room, will attest. They would roll their eyes and go, oh, Mom, here we go again. Because everywhere I went, I go, I'm an agent. Here's my card. Want to buy a house? And people would laugh. And I go, ha, but I'm actually serious. Want to buy a house? Where do you live? Do you rent? I'll help you buy a house. And so it was many spoonfuls of humble pie. I mean, it really was. I started off I'm going to be this luxury agent in fancy Orange County. And my first listing was in Carlsbad. And it was a mobile home in a senior community. And it was $309,000. And I was so excited about it, but senior communities don't allow open houses. And they don't allow you to really market very much. And they're really strict. And mobile homes are harder to finance. And so there were all these things I was so excited about. And I got a full price offer and my client passed away. My very first listing was not a success at all. It was the opposite. And I had to pick myself up and go, how do I live in like the richest area in America, in Orange County, where there's the Real Housewives of Orange County, who I used to wine and dine a lot of them in my restaurants. And now I'm like crawling and I'm, wanting to run. But you got to remember that everybody has to learn to crawl and then walk and then run. And at this point now, I'm not running, I'm jumping now. I'm on a mission. So a couple years into the industry, a light bulb went off. I started realizing that everybody has an agent. If most of you on this call, if you're not already an agent, you will attest someone in your family is an agent, your next door neighbor, your bestie, a friend of yours. And so I started realizing, man, even when I'm door knocking and saying, hey, can I help you sell your house? I'm going to work harder for you than anybody, because you're not going to meet a harder working agent. They go, we would love to, but my dad would kill me if I used a random person off the street, or my aunt will be so angry if I don't use her. And so I started going, man, okay, so everybody has agents, but they don't have lenders. So I went to my husband, I said, I'm getting my loan officer license. He goes, what, you're gonna do what I do? And I said, yep, because I'm learning from you. You put me in this, okay, here we go. And this industry is fiercely competitive. So I got licensed as a loan officer. I passed my test on the first try, which was a huge win for me, because guys, I'm really bad at taking tests. I actually failed my real estate exam the first time, and I didn't stop, and I went again, and I passed it on the second time. My first year as an LO, I did 56 loans from March to December. I made President's Club. And I didn't stop doing my agent business at the same time. I just was trying to figure out how to gap the consistency. I was used to making that salaried paycheck every 2 weeks. So in commissions, if you don't have an escrow, you don't have a payday coming. So I started learning, okay, here we go. I'm gonna be an agent, and I'm gonna be a loan officer. And as I started learning loans very quickly, and my husband's little brother, Mike, who was also a very integral part of our mortgage company in the beginning and still is to this day, the three of us all lived under one roof for a while. And we decided to found our own company, Cost Pro Lending. And I was so excited. December, I found the office building, December of 2019. We started gaining loan officers and processors. We started building our business. January 1st of 2020, we launched our company. We were so excited, and you guys know it's coming, right? March 17th, 18th of 2020, COVID hit, and we had opened this fancy new restaurant and this great new company. We had to close our doors, and we moved. We're like, great, so glad we opened an office. So glad we just started this great company, and now COVID hit and things became really scary for a few months. And, we worked from home, and our loan officers worked from home. And overnight, I lost easily $30 million in business because the jumbo loan sector started closing, and lenders started pausing their business. People didn't know what to do. Everyone was in a panic. People were quarantined. They were laid off. I had loans that were working where people lost their job due to COVID in the middle of their application, which cost them then not being able to afford to buy that house, not being able to refinance out of debt. It was a really scary period of time. But if I had a dollar for all the times that I was underestimated or somebody told me no, I'd be wealthier than I am today. To this day, I still door knock on houses and neighborhoods when I get a listing. Think about this. My first year as an agent, it's 95 degrees outside and it's July, okay? And unfortunately for me, and lucky for my husband, because I don't know anybody that sweats more than me except my husband, I was dying of sweat, like and I had black on, but you could still see the sweat, guys, like it was bad. And so I'm knocking on doors and I'm saying, hey, I'm about to host my first open house for a listing. Can you come? And people were like, you're out here doing this? One lady welcomed me inside and said, I think you're going to hyperventilate because you're sweating so bad. Other people were really mean. You know, did you read my sign, no soliciting? And I said, yeah, but I'm a neighbor. Like, I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Just come to see this beautiful house. I was chased by bees. I was scared away by dogs. Like, at the end of the day, I realized, you know what? Nobody cares, right? You got to just keep your head down and move forward. The next house is going to be better. The next deal is going to be better. This has to be your mentality. You have to never settle. With perseverance, with a smile, nothing can stop you. And I mean that. Knowledge builds confidence. So I'm going to give you some tips of things that I did along the way that helped me with my mindset, because I get asked on the regular, where do you derive your confidence from? Because I was kicked down a lot. I was a single mom for 15 years before my wonderful husband came along and embraced my sons and I. And you know, I never had it easy. I really didn't. And no one does, guys. No one does. All of us have that same story. Nobody has time. You know, when you tell people I'm too busy or I don't have the time, neither does anyone else. And so these are my recommendations. If you want to jot some notes down, or if maybe Christine can jot them down for us, stop worrying what everybody else thinks. And I really mean that. Everybody is so focused on themselves. Nobody cares. They don't. Never, ever, ever stop learning. Don't stop learning, because the moment that you stop learning, that's the moment when you're going to get too cocky and your business will go downhill. So how about this? I just got over a second round of COVID. And in December 5th of 2020, I was hit with COVID really bad. And I actually have, I think permanently, and I'm going to knock on wood, I've lost my taste and smell. I have 0% smell and 0% taste. I have none. So I legally actually am considered by the state as being disabled. And when I take my contacts off at night, guys, I really can't see because I have negative 9.5 in both my eyes. So when I take off my contacts, I am literally only hearing and feeling. I can't see, I can't taste, and I can't smell. So I'll be no help to anyone if someone breaks into my home in the middle of the night. And maybe I shouldn't announce that to the public, but that's my truth. Okay. So never stop learning. So this second batch of COVID I just went through, which quarantined me for 2 weeks, my husband actually got it for his first time. I decided to take notary school. So I just went through all of my notary training and I'm about to test to become a licensed notary. And my husband's like, what the hell are you doing that for? Do you need to add anything else to your list? Well, remember my number 2 point, never stop learning? I can't count the number of times where I was doing loans and we couldn't find an available notary because notaries are self-employed. Or if they go to work for somebody, they're given their business and they're busy. So now if I'm a licensed notary, I can show up for my own clients and notarize their loan documents. And guess who knows loan documents better than most notaries? Me, because I'm a licensed loan officer and a broker. So and I know I have one of my agents on this call. I think Jody's on the phone. She probably didn't even know. I don't think I even shared with her that I just am about to become a notary, but there you go. Never stop learning. Okay. So, and that's a tiny income stream. You hear all the time, very successful people say you need multiple streams of income. So I'm an agent, right? And I have now my own firm. I have a mortgage company and I do loans, right? I am a business coach and mentor for many people that I have worked with in the past who are managers from my past life that I actually help mentor and teach, and they'll call me for advice in their meetings, or they're running their restaurant and they need some advice. So I'm doing that. Now I'm being a notary. And then we have other areas, rentals and real estate and different things where we have derivative forms of income. That is also very true. My third point, and I only have 5, so don't worry, I won't ramble too long. My third point, and this is a big one, and this one I will admit is probably the hardest for me. And my husband is not here, but he would laugh and say absolutely, is to listen. You gotta listen. Keep your mouth shut and listen. It's incredible how much 1 and 2, the worrying what everybody thinks and never stop learning, are tied to number 3, where you listen. You learn so much more about people when you keep your mouth closed, because everybody wants to talk about themselves. Everybody wants to feel important. Most people will say, I don't ever stop learning. But unless you incorporate listening, you won't learn as well. So you gotta listen. You learn so much more by listening. Okay. And then number 4 is a big one. And this is one for me that I have recently really learned being an agent. And the way I've been able to get a lot of the business that I currently now have is by being constantly positive, radiating joy. I'm going to tell you a little story that I heard from one of my idols, or one of my, I will call him my hero, about a Chinese farmer. And so I apologize if you've heard this story, but you're going to have to hear it again because this is a great one. So there's a Chinese farmer that has a family that he supports off his farm. And one day, one of his horses goes missing. And all his workers come running and go, sir, one of your horses, he ran away. Oh my gosh, what are you going to do? And the Chinese farmer sits back and he says, they said, isn't this so bad? You lost so much money. And he says, maybe. And they go, that's your response? He goes, maybe. And so a couple days later, all of a sudden the horse comes back, and the horse has 10 wild horses coming back to the farm with him. And the workers come running to him and they go, sir, oh my gosh, you must be so excited. Your horse is back. And now you have 10 other horses to be able to work your plows and farm your land. And oh my gosh, now you have so many horses. Chinese farmer sits back and he goes, maybe. And they go, aren't you so elated? And he goes, we'll see, maybe. Couple weeks go by. These are wild horses that need to be trained how to pull plows. And his son is one of his workers on his farm. And all of a sudden there's a big accident. The workers come running, sir, oh my gosh, we need to call an ambulance, quick, hurry up. Your son was trying to tame one of the wild horses and he just fell off the horse. He's unconscious. Oh my goodness, he's rushed to the hospital. All the workers are freaking out. Everybody is scared. He breaks his leg so badly that the doctors tell him, sir, I'm so sorry, your son's never gonna walk unassisted again. And they go, oh my gosh, you must be devastated. Now we see, okay, these horses that came, they've now permanently disabled your son for the rest of his life. He goes, maybe, we'll see. So a couple of weeks later, the country breaks out in a war, and the government needs soldiers. And there's a knock at the door, and the military men are there to draft all of the young men that are over the age of 18. And so they say, son, or he says, son, the military men are here for you. And as his son hobbles over, the military men step back and go, what's going on with your son? And the dad, the Chinese farmer, says, well, he had an injury. He can't walk unassisted. The military men said, well, we're so sorry. We're not drafting you. You can't come and fight in a war. Avoided the draft. Workers come running back to him. They go, you must be so excited. Your son doesn't have to go to war now. And can you guess what the Chinese farmer's response was? Maybe, right? The moral of that story is, just because something bad happens to you in life doesn't mean it will ultimately be bad. We choose what we focus on in life. So much good can come from what you think is actually bad. That father could have fallen apart with that major injury to his son. And why did I let the wild horses come back? And why did I allow this? But then his son didn't have to go to war, right? So always search for the positive. Everyone's a critic, everyone. My favorite saying, which hangs on the wall by my bed, is the saying by Benjamin Franklin of Man in the Arena. And the start of that speech, which I could almost recite verbatim, is that it's not the critic who counts, right? It's the man in the arena. So over the 4th of July weekend, I had a chance to go to my very first rodeo, and it was shocking to me. I got a chance through our next door neighbors to have VIP box seats where I sat right in the mud in the front row. And it was amazing to me how many people were involved in each stall for each rider to get the rider mounted on the bull. Okay. And the bulls, sometimes you could see, are jumping, ready to break out of the fence. And the riders, you can see that everybody is helping him to mount the bull. Sometimes I was ready with my phone to video, and I would sit there, and a minute and 2 minutes would go by. And it's like, open the gate already. Well, he was getting ready. 8 seconds is all they have to stay on a bull in order to usually win the prize or the reward, right? 25 bull riders did the show that I got to see on the 4th of July. One of them made it to 8 seconds, okay? The others were still incredible to watch. And I walked over to a group of people that were sitting in the stands, and I said, wasn't this the most amazing rodeo you've ever seen? And they said, is this your first rodeo? And I said, it is. And they said, oh my God, this one wasn't even good. These riders all sucked. Oh my God, we've seen ones where tons of guys stay on for 8 seconds, 10 seconds longer. And I took a step back, and guess what I thought of immediately? The quotes from Man in the Arena, the cheap seats, right? It's not the critic who counts. Do you think any of you would mount a bull? I certainly wouldn't. I don't know how much practice goes into bull riding. You can almost lose your life. I mean, I watched those bulls step on the guys or avoid, near-death experiences. It's dangerous. It was interesting. And it was so shocking to me that after such an incredible show, how quickly somebody said, oh, you haven't seen anything yet. And it was a perfect example of, guys, there's always going to be somebody hoping that you fail. There's always going to be a critic. It's easy to sit in the cheap seats. It's easy to criticize, and it's not the critic who counts. It's the one in the arena. It's the bull riders. Somebody won close to 10 grand that night because he took a chance and was in the arena. You got to get in the arena. Stop getting ready to get ready. If I could say one thing to other agents, to entrepreneurs, to any of you on this call or who are going to listen to this speech or this session, I hear so many people getting ready to get ready. And when you work in commissions only, you got to get yourself out there. And then the amount of time that it takes would shock you if you really do. Put yourself out of your comfort zone. That's why I titled it, Your Business Grows to the Extent You Do. Because you can walk into a room and I guarantee you everyone else at that networking session is just as nervous to hand out their card as you. So if you're the first one to walk up and say, I'm Carly, nice to meet you. What do you do? Where have you been? Have you ever been to one of these? And I will sometimes say, I've never been to one of these. How does it work? Because everyone's just as nervous as you. But if you make people feel important, you'll win every time. That is one thing I've tried to do with each of my clients that I've had the fortunate opportunity to work for, is try my hardest to make them feel like they're the only client that I have at the time. I'm going to show you my business card. And the reason I'm going to show you my business card is because you've seen a lot of agent cards, right? They have their pictures on them. They have their logos on them. They have all kinds of stuff on them. And one of the biggest compliments I get on a regular basis is, what's with your card? What do you like? What do you like, Prince or like Cher? You're like Carly only? And I always laugh. But guess what? They never forget my name, right? And my favorite thing to tell them is, that's because it's not about me. My info and my logo is on the back, okay? So there is my phone number, there is my little website, there is my Instagram handle and my lion logo, but it's not about me, it's about them. I don't want it about me. And remember, people like to talk about themselves. And unfortunately, this whole call, I'm talking about myself. But at the same time, I'm hoping to try to inspire you. The more confidence you act like you have, even if you have anxiety inside, the more people will respond to you. So focus on your own paper. Stop looking at others. We live in the most competitive society ever, and social media has made it so much worse, drastically worse. Most of the $1 million darlings that you see on Instagram and Facebook are posing for a picture. Guys, I've seen it in person. I've been to these multi-million-dollar listings, $30 million listings. I've met the people from Selling Sunset. I've seen the Orange County housewives. They live a huge life of facade. A lot of it is posing for a quick picture, and then they go back to putting their pajamas on. There is so much that is not true and real. Be genuine. And, you know, I say a lot, nobody cares, nobody cares. Well, who does really care? The people who matter are the ones that care, right? That's your spouse or your significant other or your partner, right? That's your friends, your family, your kids, right? Those are the people who care. Those are the people who matter. Those are the people who you should ask for advice from or tell them about your day, right? And when you're out and about networking and you're handing out your card, and I promise you, I hand my card out wherever I go. The line of TJ Maxx, any of you ladies that shop at TJ Maxx or Home Goods, that is the perfect opportunity to hand out your business card. And let me tell you, I do. And, you know, I have people laugh, but I always say, hey, want to buy a house? And they think I'm like, are you crazy? And sometimes I'm like, yeah, but you'd be surprised the number of times that it works. I got a multi-million-dollar client because I bought a license plate cover off the internet. He was selling a license plate cover that I bought my husband for Christmas. And he happened to be a neurosurgeon out of San Francisco, telling me he was looking for an investment property. I became friends with him and his family. He would fly down on his G6. I'd pick him up from the airport, and we bought a multi-million-dollar building on the ocean in Long Beach because he sold me a license plate cover, right? So I'm going to give you a couple of recommendations on books and then audio, because I think not everybody likes to read. My husband jokingly says he never reads. And so I'll start off with the very first one. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it because we tried this before, but Failing Forward. Christine's going to put them up on the chat for everybody. So Failing Forward by John Maxwell is one of the best books you can read. He literally says, in all of the people that he has met worldwide as an inspirational speaker, multimillionaire and entrepreneur, the most successful people are the ones who go from one failure to the next failure with no loss of enthusiasm or passion. So failure is a requirement for success. You need to hear the no in order to get to the yes. No stands for next opportunity, right? Okay, and then for any of my hospitality background people or anybody who wants an incredible book about an incredible man that I idolized and still do for many years in restaurants, there's a gentleman by the name of Danny Meyer. And his book is called Setting the Table. I used to give this to every single restaurant manager and chef that worked with me and that I got to work for, and I would quiz them on it, because he talks about a leadership principle in here called constant gentle pressure that is one of the most successful ways you can manage a huge team of people, by applying constant gentle pressure. Okay, my last one is an interactive workbook, another John C. Maxwell one, and this one's called Winning with People. This is actually a great one if you're the kind of person who likes to read and then have questions asked of you and you take notes on them. Again, another workbook I passed out constantly to employees, to managers, to people that I got a chance to work for, because this really helps drive home how important it is to listen, to stay positive, to be passionate, and to make other people feel important. And then the last two things that I'm going to recommend, and please, oh my gosh, if you take nothing away from my little soapbox for this moment here, please take away this. Has anybody ever heard of Tom Brady? Ha ha ha, that's obviously a joke, right? Tom Brady was the 199th draft pick in football. Talk about being counted out, right? And now worldwide, probably the most legendary football player to ever play the game. There is a documentary on ESPN called Man in the Arena. And it is one of the best documentaries that you can watch. Tom Brady failed way more times than he succeeded. And that guy's got 7 Super Bowl rings. That guy has more records than any quarterback in the history of his sport. Let me tell you though, I've never heard of or seen a more hard-working quarterback or a more hard-working football player than Tom Brady. He also did a short segment on Facebook Watch a few years ago, actually during 2020 of the quarantine, called Tom versus Time. And that's a cool one to watch too, because that gets a little more into his personal life. I think it's 6 episodes. But please, please watch Man in the Arena. You'll realize if you don't even like Tom Brady, or you hate the Patriots, the Cheatriots, like everybody likes to call them, right? Deflategate and all that. It'll help you to actually understand that they deserve, or at least Tom Brady for sure deserves, every bit of recognition that that man has received. He's worked for it and worked hard for it. And then the last one is on Netflix. And I'm excited for this one because boy, is this man an inspiration to me on the regular. Has anybody also ever heard of Elon Musk? Of course you have, right? There is a documentary on Elon Musk. It's 2 hours and you won't be able to stop watching it. And you're going to tell everybody you know about it if you actually watch it. It's called Return to Space. Elon Musk, just like Tom Brady, just like me, just like every other entrepreneur that you read autobiographies on or you strive to be like, Warren Buffett, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, all of them. Elon Musk has failed just as much as he succeeded, if not more. He almost spent every penny he had on launching SpaceX and the incredible program that he now has that has allowed for the first time in our United States history to have rockets and humans and falcons and astronauts back into space again. That documentary is incredible. It actually, if you're an entrepreneur and you've experienced that kind of criticism and that type of pain or those type of challenges, will probably make your eyes water. I was stunned looking over at my husband who had tears in his eyes watching this because he started his own mortgage company, right? And I just launched and started July 1st, my own real estate firm, ZRE Group. I am now my own firm and my own real estate company. So it's scary. It's exciting, but it's scary. And there's always going to be people in the cheap seats, guys. There's always going to be critics. They're not the ones that count. You count when you're in the arena, when you put yourself out there, outside of your comfort zone, when you try, when you put one foot in front of another. Most of the people out there don't know what they're doing either. You've heard those cliches, fake it till you make it. It couldn't be more true. Half the time they don't know what they're doing either. So that'll conclude that. My new company is zregroup.org. That website will be going live in the next 5 days. I've been working for months on it. I'm so excited to have met all of you that logged on. And if you're just listening to this call, I hope that anything I had to say will give you that level of inspiration or confidence, because I certainly haven't made it. I'm still trying to make it. I'm still working hard, and you're not going to find somebody that works harder than me. I'll tell you that much. So anybody have questions? I would love if anybody does have anything you want to know or anything I can answer for you. I'm here for you. So, and if not, that's okay too. I don't know if I want to put anybody on the spot, but what a pleasure. And thank you. Christine, do I say anything else? Do we wrap it up? I don't know how to end it.
Everyone, please unmute, comment, ask any questions, anything, say hello or goodbye as you're off.
Thank you, Carly. Yes, I consider my charity to be a business, so thank you, because I did have a recent failure that I won't talk about because I'm going to go to the next event without losing any enthusiasm.
Good.
I can do that.
Good.
So sparkle on, girlfriend. Thank you.
Love it.
Good,
Thanks.
Suzanne.
Good.
Thank you, Carly.
Of course, man, it is my pleasure. You know, you really just, guys, it's so dark, right? There's so many things that people are stressed about right now between our president and the vaccinations and COVID and now this crazy new Roe versus Wade and all the different things. And so many people have so many different opinions. Our world can feel really dark. You know, and I said this one time to our company at a Christmas party that we were having. When you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel that you're in, sometimes you got to be the light, right? So focus on the positive, be the light, be the one that walks in the room having a great day, because it's not always a great day. You know, I have tough days. I have days I don't want to leave my house and I don't want to talk to anybody. But when you put yourself out of your comfort zone, it certainly does come back twofold. So it means a lot to me if you logged on to this today. Thank you so much. I hope to see you around, and I'm here for questions. Feel free to email me, text me. I'm very responsive on social media. So have a wonderful day to everybody out there.
Thank you, Carly.
Thanks, Carly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So much for your time.
Okay,
Bye.
pass
I
it
want to
here.
remind you guys to save chat before you hop off. You have Carly's information, you have everybody else's information, and I'll share the link. If you didn't get it, email me, please.
All
Thank
right.
you so much, Carly. Oh my gosh. We're so
Thank you
grateful
again.
for this
Bye,
today.
everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Likewise.
Save chat.
Bye.